Cindy, you can start with the next question.
How has child abuse impacted your life?
When I was 7, I went into foster care, my sister and I. She's only 3 years older than me. And luckily, we weren't separated like most children are when they do go into the system. So for me, I never knew anything about foster care. I never knew anything about group homes or anything like that. So it was a completely blinding experience for me. I didn't know where I was going, who I was going to, what I was dealing with, anything. And I was only 7. So for me, it was extremely scary to be without my mother, who's all I've known for 7 years. And luckily, I was able to be strong enough to get through it.
Okay, pause. If you don't mind, we'll do that question again.
Okay.
And it doesn't have to be word for word.
Okay.
Just answer it like you want to. But if you could try to be looking at Cindy.
Okay.
I know you had thoughts in your head at the same time.
Yeah.
So, and this is a process for sure. So,
Okay.
And just for the sake of process, we can ask the question again.
Okay.
And then actually pause for like 2 seconds before you answer.
Okay.
So after she stops talking, I have a break
Okay.
where when I edit
Okay.
before your voice starts. Okay, so 3, 2, 1, here we go.
How has child abuse impacted your life?
When I was 7 years old, I went into foster care, my sister and I, and she's only 3 years older than me. And prior to going into foster care, I didn't know anything about group homes or DFACs or anything like that because I was really sheltered when I was young. So going into an experience like that, luckily with her and not without her, I was strong enough to be able to deal with it for the time that we were there.
Excellent. I don't see why we should do that one again. Let's do the next one.
What led you to get involved with PCAHC for the prevention of child abuse?
I was asked by my internship coordinator at a friend's house in McDonough, Georgia. When I originally did my interview with her to be an intern, she asked me what was my drive and motivation behind coming there. So I shared my story with her, and it moved her so much that when they started discussing the event, she came and asked me to be a guest speaker, and I was more than honored to do it.
Okay, and again, just for the sake of options, that was fantastic, but if we could ask and answer that question one more time.
Okay.
And here we go.
What led you to get involved with Prevent Child Abuse Henry County or the prevention of child abuse?
When I started my internship at a friend's house in McDonough, my internship coordinator asked me what was my drive and motivation behind being an intern at a friend's house. And I told her my story of growing up in foster care and why I felt it was so important to give back to other children. And that's what prompted me to be a part of this event when she asked me to be a guest speaker.
Very good. And question 3.
How can an individual and or community support the prevention of child abuse?
I think it's most important to make the community aware of the different types and different signs of child abuse. Many people think child abuse is only physical, but it can also be emotional abuse, children feeling neglected or going without their personal needs. It's many different ways to abuse a child. So I think knowing the signs and the symptoms of child abuse is what's most important.
Okay, and again, if we can repeat that. Here we go.
How can an individual and or community support the prevention of child abuse?
For child abuse, I think the most important thing is awareness and learning the signs and the symptoms. Many people think child abuse is physical, and that's not the case. It can be emotional. It can make the child feel neglected or unwanted, or it can be them going without their basic needs. So I think the most important thing is educating people in the community on what those signs are.
Very nice. And number 4.
If someone out there listening is a victim of child abuse, what do you want them to know?
I want them to know that you do not have to be a victim of your circumstances. I dealt with child abuse from the age of 7 all the way up until I graduated high school at the age of 17. And even afterwards, starting college, I dealt with many things that I felt like a normal child shouldn't deal with. So I think it's important to use your situation as motivation for what you do going forward and to help someone else or do something different that someone didn't do for you.
Very nice. That was so good. But again, just for the sake of options, if you wouldn't mind doing that again. Thank you.
If someone out there listening is a victim of child abuse, what do you want them to know?
I want them to know that they are not a victim. They are strong. They are intelligent. They are beautiful. They are positive. They can do anything that they put their mind to. It's not about what you went through. It's more of what you learned and how you came out of it. And I think for anybody who's listening, use it to your advantage and push to be better and to be stronger and help those who don't have the same help that you had or that you wish you had when you were dealing with it.
And here we go. Begin, please.
How has child abuse impacted your life?
Well, I feel that how has it not impacted my life would be a better question. I suffered 10 years of abuse at the hands of my father from the time I was 3 until I was 13. So you can imagine that is with me every day in multiple ways. I tend to have anxiety and depression. I have nightmares and flashbacks and PTSD and multiple forms of health issues, headaches, for instance, digestive issues. There's all kind of things that are affected by a trauma such as that. So being a survivor of child sexual abuse comes with an awful lot of baggage.
Okay, thank you very much. We're going to do that again.
I'm dying.
No, no, I know.
Sorry.
I know, it is more. Can you
It is.
adjust that, how that lays again?
You want me to just flip it? See if it'll lay better?
It won't, because
It won't.
that's not designed to be. Unless I flip the whole time. Okay, that currently is laying okay.
Okay.
Straighten your
If I
neck.
don't move, I know every time I move the mic, I move it.
No, it's okay. Yeah.
Okay.
And you're an active talker.
Yes, I am. Extremely.
So every time that your face moves up at all, I get a lot of glare from that one.
Okay. I'm going to try so hard.
Don't overthink it. If we get some of that, it's fine. That's
Okay.
not a lot of it. So let's just do that question again. And
Okay.
just give us another option.
Okay.
And again, just address her, and then here we go. Action.
This will be totally different.
Okay. And you can ask the question again, and we'll just go from there. Go ahead.
How has child abuse impacted your life?
Well, child abuse has impacted my life every day from the time that I disclosed my abuse at the age of 15. I'm sorry. Do it again. Okay.
3, 2, 1.
Child abuse has affected my life every day from the time that I first began being abused until the time actually of today. This is, I'm sorry, I'm trying to go off script and I don't like it. Give me just a minute. All right, just ask me a question again and let me do this. I wrote this out today, and I think I actually like it for once, because normally I go off script and I like it better, but I think I like my script better. Look, I tried to change things and I shouldn't have. Okay, go ahead.
3, 2, 1.
How has child abuse impacted your life?
Well, I suffered child sexual abuse at the hands of my father for 10 years, and as you can imagine, that does come with me every day. There are several different things that still affect me, such as PTSD, anxiety, depression, headaches, nightmares, insomnia. There's a lot of different things that come along with that. It's very frustrating. It causes me to second guess myself. I have very low self-esteem sometimes, and I really have to work on that. It's not an easy thing to cope with on a day-to-day basis, and takes a lot of courage and a lot of support from my family and my friends and my community.
Very nice. Okay, we can move on to the second question. Yep.
Hot flashes. Okay, go ahead.
And 3.
Wait. Okay.
Here we go. Go ahead.
What led you to get involved with Prevent Child Abuse Henry County, or the prevention of child abuse?
Well, the day that I disclosed my abuse to my mother, I told her that if I could help one person by telling my story, that it would have all been worthwhile. All the pain and suffering would be worthwhile. And I carried that with me, though I wasn't really able to speak about my abuse for several years to a large group. I have always been able to speak about it one-on-one, as long as it was somebody that I knew. But I decided at one point that I was ready to tell my story, and so I spoke at my church at a function that we were having to bring awareness about domestic abuse. And it just so happened that a board member for Prevent Child Abuse Henry County was attending that service and asked me to speak at an event, a fundraising event that Prevent Child Abuse was having. And so from there, I've gone on to teach different classes and things like that in order to be involved, and have since then joined the board of directors as well. And I just try as hard as I can to let people know that we need more awareness in our community. We need more support in our community. And Prevent Child Abuse Henry County has given me an outlet to share my story and to help others and to bring our community back around to where they need to be so that they can support and help child abuse, victims of child abuse, and to help prevent that as well.
Okay. All right, we are rolling, and you can ask the question. Hold on.
Oh, God.
Yeah, it'll pick up every
Sorry.
touch of paper and everything. So, yeah, sorry guys. And action.
What led you to get involved with Prevent Child Abuse Henry or the prevention of child abuse?
Well, the day that I disclosed my abuse, do it again. Can't get my words out.
What led you to get involved with Prevent Child Abuse Henry or the prevention of child abuse?
Well, the day that I disclosed my abuse to my mother, I let her know that if I could help any person, just one person, through the telling of my story, even though it's shameful and hard to do, that it would make all the pain and suffering worthwhile. So I waited until I felt that I was ready to publicly give my testimony, and did that at church one evening when we were having a service to bring more awareness about domestic violence. And that was the best thing that I ever did, and it helped me to realize that there were people who needed to hear that. And Prevent Child Abuse Henry County has helped me have an outlet for that, and I have since joined the board of directors and enjoy being able to bring awareness to our community and educate our community, and to let survivors or victims of child abuse know that it doesn't have to continue and that they are not alone.
Very nice. And we can go on to the next question, please.
How can an individual and or community support the prevention of child abuse?
Well, there are many different things that one can do, both as a community or as a business or as an individual, to get involved. And one of them is to take a course called Darkness to Light, Stewards of Children program, and that's an educational program that teaches you how to recognize abuse and what to do if you suspect or know that someone is being abused. You could also donate to Prevent Child Abuse Henry County so that we can put those programs on. Another thing you can do is just protect your kids and protect the kids that you have any dealing with. If you work with children, I highly recommend that you do take the training course so that you know how to protect your children better. You can get involved and volunteer with the board of directors. We have many different programs that we put on, and we do need volunteers on a regular basis. We have fundraising events from time to time, and you can just help everyone to be more aware of your surroundings and of the people who are involved in your children's lives.
Is there one more question?
Yes.
Okay, let's do. I'm not gonna have you do that one again. That was just fine.
Thank you.
And here we go. Thank you.
If someone out there listening is a victim of child abuse, what do you want them to know?
I want them to know that they're not alone, that there are others out there, that they are normal, and that there is someone to support them and help them and that they can get through this.
Okay, let's just, for safety, since that was short, let's do that one more time.
Do you want it to be longer?
No, it's perfect.
Okay, because it's pretty
What you
simple.
answered, and-
It's pretty simple.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
All right.
Whatever you want.
The same exact thing would be fine.
Okay.
If someone out there listening is a victim of child abuse, what do you want them to know?
I want them to know that they're not alone, that there are people to support them, that they're normal, that what happened to them is not their fault, and that we are there for them, and that they can get the help that they need because they will be okay.
Very nice. And we are live now. Here we go. First question.
How has child abuse impacted your life?
Child abuse has impacted my life in a large way. First of all, it impacted me because it caused me to have suicidal thoughts. Once I was assaulted at the age of 12 and 13, I didn't want to live anymore. I felt like I was carrying around my body as a weight, as a prisoner, because I no longer wanted the body that had been abused. So psychologically, I was messed up. It affected me in relation to my relationships with my family, with my friends. I isolated myself. I became very, very depressed. It caused me to fall in my grades. I felt like I couldn't concentrate. And so it impacted every area of my life, psychologically, emotionally, spiritually.
Thank you. I'm going to pause for one. Here we go. Begin.
How has child abuse impacted your life?
Child abuse has impacted my life on every level, psychologically, emotionally, and spiritually. At 12 years old, I was kidnapped and assaulted by a male stranger. And ever since that moment that abuse happened, I was never the same. I had constantly had suicidal thoughts. I felt like I was a prisoner in a body that I no longer wanted, a body that had been abused, a body that had been ruined. And as a result of that, I didn't want to live anymore. It affected my relationships with my family. All of a sudden, I no longer wanted to be around my family. I no longer wanted to be in a relationship with friends. So I isolated myself. I became very depressed, very depressed. And it took a lot of struggle, a lot of fighting. And it took community and took me being able to have the courage to talk about what happened to me in order for me to heal from what happened to me. And so even now as an adult, I suffer from certain illnesses due to my adverse childhood experiences. I suffer from hypertension. I suffer from high cholesterol. I suffer from moment to moment still the bouts of depression. So it still has an impact on my life somewhat, but not as much as it did at first.
Thank you so much. And we can go on to number 2.
Okay.
What led you to get involved with Prevent Child Abuse Henry or the prevention of child abuse?
What led me to get involved, actually, I feel like that I didn't purposely choose this call. It almost chose me. I became a special victim detective. Just wanted a job, thought I was just getting a job to become a police officer. However, when I became a special victims detective and I saw my first forensic interview and I watched a little boy with the courage to tell his story, and that touched me deeply. And I felt like I had to do more than I was doing. I had to do more than just put people in jail, that I had to get out front of abuse and actually stop it before it happened and not wait until it happened. So I felt like my duty as a detective, as a former victim, is not only to stop abuse, but make others aware of how abuse happened and what happened when abuse happened.
I'm not sure we can improve upon that one. Thank you so much.
All right.
Very well.
Thank you.
We can go on to number 3.
How can an individual and or community support the prevention of child abuse?
Wow, that's a great question. I think to prevent it, we need to educate ourselves more about abuse, not just that it happens, but actually the trauma that's associated with abuse when it happens, how it separates people from themselves, the effect that it has on the brain, and how trauma has a lasting effect. That when someone is arrested or held accountable for abuse, that's not enough. The victim themselves need therapy, they need support of community, they need support of family. And so if people want to get involved, I would say educate themselves. As well, find your local child advocacy center. Find out how you can help through volunteering, through donations, and also help teach children in the schools how abuse affects others and what's wrong with abuse as far as bullying, and that it's okay if they want to disclose that they have been abused. So I think they can help in that way.
Let's, that was fine.
Okay.
For the sake of options, if we can do that one more time.
Okay, cool.
Thank you. Go ahead.
How can an individual and or community support the prevention of child abuse?
I think individuals and communities can support the prevention of abuse by educating themselves on what abuse is and what it does and how it affects individuals, families, and communities. I think they can further help the prevention of abuse by finding their local child advocacy centers and find out how they can help through volunteering their time, their resources, and I also think that they can continue to spread the word about abuse and that we don't wait till abuse to happen, but we actually try to prevent abuse from happening. Because here in America, a child is abused every 10 seconds, and that is tragic. So I think that we need to do more than just respond to abuse, but we need to do more to prevent it through education and awareness.
Excellent. Thanks
Okay.
so much. We can,
Cool.
There's one more, right?
Is it?
Number
Oh,
4, I think? Yeah, thanks so much.
okay, I'm feeling the light. Okay. Okay.
If someone out there listening is a victim of child abuse, what do you want them to know?
I want them to know that they're loved. I want them to know that they're valuable. I want them to know that it's not their fault. And I want them to know there are people like me and others that are out there that are willing to help them get through what they have gone through and let them know that they're not alone, that they are loved and that they can reach out for help and they can tell their story and let them know that there's a community, there are child advocacy centers that can help them, there are hotlines or people on the phone that they can talk to if they're going through depression. If they find and feel that they're alone, there are people out here that they can talk to. So I want them to know that they're not alone and that it's not their fault.
Very nice. I think that was pretty smooth also.
Okay.